I was arrested on December 1st, 1955, for refusing to stand up on the orders of the bus driver after the white seats had been occupied in the front. And of course, I was not in the front of the bus as many people have written and spoken that I was, that I got on the bus and took a front seat, but I did not. I took a seat that was just back of where the white people were sitting. And in fact, the last seat, and the man was next to the window, and I took an aisle seat, and there were two women across. And we went on undisturbed until about the second or third stop, when some white people boarded the bus and left one man standing. And when the driver noticed him standing, he told us to stand up and let him have those seats. He referred to them as front seats. And when the other uh, three people, after some hesitancy, stood up, he wanted to know if I was going to stand. I told him I was not, and he told me he would have me arrested. I told him he may do that. And of course he did. He didn't move the bus any further than where we were, and went out of the bus. I stood in the door, and several people got off. Didn't any white people get off, but several of the black people got off. And shortly thereafter, the two policemen came on the bus, and one asked me if the driver had told me to stand, and I said yes. And he wanted to know why I didn't stand. I told him I didn't think I should have to stand up. And then I asked him, why did they push us around? And he said, and I quote him, "I don't know, but the law is the law and you are under arrest." And with that, I got off the bus under arrest. It was put in the paper that I had been arrested. And of course, there were people, Mr. E.D. Nixon, who was the legal redress chairman of the NAACP, the Montgomery branch of the NAACP. And he then made a number of calls during the night and called a number of ministers. And they set a meeting for this. I was arrested on Thursday evening, and on Friday evening is when they had the meeting at the Lex Avenue Baptist Church, where Dr. Martin Luther King was the pastor. And a number of citizens came, and I told them the story. And then from then on, it became news about my being arrested. And on my trial, which was December 5th, is when they found me guilty, and I was the lawyers, Fred Gray and Charles Langford, who were representing me. They filed an appeal, and of course I didn't pay any fine. They set a meeting at the Holy Street Baptist Church on the evening of December 5th, because that was December 5th was the day that people stayed off in large numbers and did not ride the bus. In fact, most of the buses, I think all of them were just about empty, with the exception maybe a very, very few people. And when they found out that one day's protest had kept the people off the bus, they made it came to a vote actually, and it was unanimously decided that they would not ride the buses anymore until changes for the better were made. I don't remember feeling that angry, but I did feel determined to take this as an opportunity to let it be known that I did not want to be treated in that manner, and that we as people had endured it far too long. However, I did not have, at the moment of my arrest, any idea of how the people would react. And since they react favorably, I was willing to go on with their desires. And of course, we formed what was known as the Montgomery Improvement Association on the afternoon of December 5th. And that is when Dr. Martin Luther King became very prominent in our movement, because he was chosen as a spokesman and the president of the Montgomery Improvement Association. As I look back on those days, it's just like a dream. And the only thing that bothered me was that we waited so long to make this protest and to let it be known wherever we go that all of us should be free and equal and have all opportunities that others should have. When I was arrested, I was 42 years old. And there were so many needs for us to continue to work for freedom, because I didn't think that we should have to be treated in the way we were just for the sake of white supremacy, because it was designed to make them feel superior and us feel inferior. And that was the whole plan of racially enforced segregation.
What do you know about the multiverse?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Multiverse Podcast. I'm your host, Bad Top Bricks, here with my team of the best in the world, Tyrone Thornhill and Minnie Morales. What's going on, guys?
What's up? Sure.
Yeah. We are missing one piece of the multiverse this week. Lots going on, but we will see them shortly, and that is Holly Noon. Listen, guys, this week we spotlighted, as we will do every week, Rosa Parks. This is the first day of Women's History Month, and so I thought it appropriate to spotlight Rosa. And I just want to go around the board and just kind of gauge, what her contributions mean to you. In today's society, for what she stood for. How about we go with you first, Tyrone?
Well, I mean, for me, Rosa Parks, like a lot of people, it's kind of one of the first names that we hear when we start to think about civil rights. So that's sort of our, a lot of our foundation for like what we consider the civil rights movement. It starts with hearing Rosa Parks' story, or there's, somewhere in there, especially if you're educated, the American public school system. To me, she represents what happens when normal people stand up for what they believe in, and she didn't do so as a way to say like, hey, everybody, we should do this. She was just like, no, I'm standing. And then it was a way to inspire others, and there were other people who were making an individual stand around that time as well, whose names we don't hear as often as Rosa Parks, but she was one of many people arrested for this very same thing. So speaking of arrested, here they come. Here we talk about what happens. You start talking about people standing up. No, it's definitely it just shows the power of when somebody is just fed up and they're like, I will not be treated like this anymore. I'm standing up, and we will see what happens. It's so for all of us who I do this myself. I'm learning a lot. I talk a lot about it and stuff. But when it comes to taking action, I haven't done a Rosa Parks action, or I haven't gone. I mean, I've gone to some protests and stuff like that, but I haven't uh, you know made a big shift. So I'm like, all right, I'm still trying to reach that bar, Rosa Parks.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Minnie? What stood out, in regards to the contributions that Rosa was able to make back then, and how's it affected, your life and our lives, in today's society?
Like Tyrone said very eloquently, that's one of the first people we learn about in school when it comes to like Black History Month and stuff like that. But to me, the most interesting part about the Rosa Parks story is what happened afterwards, like the legislation that was put in and the paperwork that was put in to actually equalize the whole situation. Like that step, the next step that Martin Luther King led when it comes to public transportation and other things of that nature that came about from that is like to me an even bigger story that people they don't really talk about often, and it all came from starting off from that point.
Yeah, that's all facts. One of the things that I came across when while doing the research, and which I thought was very interesting because coming up in school when we studied, history, and they mentioned Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was depicted as this elderly lady who was on a bus,
Mhm.
Right.
and she was tired, her feet hurt, and so she just sat down, and then she was so tired she couldn't get up. This was literally what I'm sure a lot of people back in the day were told in regards to her story. But as I kind of delved, I realized that Rosa was 42 at this time, 42 years old, and she was a seamstress. And that particular day, she had worked 6 hours. And if you know anything about a seamstress, they sit down most of the time. So she wasn't necessarily tired, and she wasn't elderly.
Yep.
42 is not elderly. But the fact that it was depicted in that way to make it seem as though her reasoning for sitting there in the face of this white gentleman telling her to get out of the seat was that her elderly bones couldn't get her up. I thought that was very fascinating and very interesting that she was depicted that way. As you delve a little bit deeper into her storyline, you find out that she came from a family of radicalists. Her dad was one, or her grandfather was one who did not play the radio, and they said that if you messed with any of the Parks kids, he would bust a cap in your ass. White, black, Puerto Rican, and Haitian. It didn't matter who you was. You messed with the Parks girls or the Parks boys or any of the Parks. You was catching that. You was catching that smoke. And it was also known that she married an individual named Raymond, who also shared these sentiments. And when they there was an instance where they had a meeting at Rosa's house, and Rosa was saying how there were so many guns on the table, like that, because their expectation was that someone was going to burst into the meeting and like kind of try to enforce their power, and they were like, if they come up in here, they're gonna have a problem. And I think that part of it, making her such a, like depicting her as like this pacifist, and she just was nonviolent and just, just kind of did. That was not her, and that was not her upbringing. So, I would suggest to anyone who would like to know the true story of Rosa Parks and her journey in you know helping us to be where we're at today. Go and invest some time into delving into her story, and you'll be surprised at how passionate and how aggressively she moved in the directions that she did to get us to where we are today. And I think that's an important uh, piece of information that everybody should know. But again, we will continue to spotlight women and men in Black history all throughout the year. And Rosa Parks definitely, was played a pivotal role in getting us to the point where we are today. I wouldn't necessarily say we've reached the mountaintop, but
Mm.
she definitely has got us in that right direction. Um, Listen, guys, we have a great show today. And we're going to be talking about something that I was put on to by Tyrone. Thank you, Tyrone. And I just wanted to share this with everyone because this is going under the radar, and I don't know why. It hasn't been nominated for any awards on the major platforms. It has been nominated on a lot of the smaller platforms, and deservedly so. But I'm still at this. And me and Tyrone are going to go over this today. And Minnie, I hope you was able to catch some of the episodes as well to lend to this conversation. But the Wonder Years 2022, narrated by Don Cheadle, um, is one of the best television series that I've ever seen. I was just gonna say the one of the best on television, but I think that's not giving it the credit that it deserves. The way that the writing is on this show, the characters, the just how everybody represents themselves on screen. And if I could give everybody on the cast an award, I would get everybody on the cast an award. That's how good the cast is. But let's kind of delve into the story a little bit, right? So the New Wonder Years 2022 follows the Williams family. It's a black family. This all goes on in the 1960s, Tyrone, somewhere in
Yeah, it's
that time
actually
period.
yeah, actually just after the assassination of Martin Luther King.
Okay, so thank you for lending so right after the death of Martin Luther King in the 1960s, at the height of the civil rights movement, at the height of racial tension and all of the stuff that's going on, um, the Williams family, the Williams family being Bill the dad, we have Bill Williams, we have Lillian, I believe Lillian Williams, we have Dean Williams, and then we have Kim Williams, and we also have Bruce, who's not in this picture right now. We'll get to him later. But the story kind of follows young Dean through his trials and tribulations of growing up as a young black kid in the 1960s. And I'm gonna start there. um Tyrone, when you first encounter Dean and you start to see how he maneuvers through life and how he starts to develop in his as his age starts to go up and everything like that, and all of the complexities of being a young black child in the 1960s, what kind of stood out initially, that kind of made you just love this show, like as soon as you turned it on and started watching the first few episodes?
I think specifically to as it pertains to Dean and just kind of the way he moves is the show really captures sort of a childlike wonder, hence the name, The Wonder Years. But like it really does, like, because you get it from the perspective of Dean, and it mainly follows Dean, and you're seeing the world through his eyes. But it's also narrated by Don Cheadle, so you have the hindsight of an adult who has lived that experience, and like so it's just like if anybody watched The Wonder Years from from back in the day, it has that same sort of setup and tone, but this feels so much more. I mean, for us especially, it feels so much more like visceral and so much more personal, because I think now, while I didn't grow up in the '60s, there are a lot of things about this family that I'm like, oh, that is some, like, if you know type shit. Like,
Yeah.
And it's all over that show in such a beautiful way. And Dean, especially, growing up, he one thing that spoke to me is he kind of feels a little bit outcast, a little bit of an outcast. So he finds other people who kind of feel that way a little bit, and sort of bonds with them. He is, it, that outcast part of it, that in between part of it where he's always trying to fit in. That's what I think stands out the most for me for Dean. and it informs a lot of what happens in the show, the way he treats his friends, the stuff he goes through. It goes through like little kid friendship stuff and little 12-year-old, 13-year-old type things, and then it'll get into some really heavy cultural and historical kind of stuff where you're like, oh wow, they're digging deep, and all of it through a child's eyes. This child happens to be very likable and brilliant and funny. The way he delivers his lines and jokes and stuff, it's just really well done. So I'll stop gushing over Dean for a minute and somebody else do some gushing.
No, crush on, please.
Gushing, not crushing. Yeah, that is a whole other problem. Take me straight to jail if I ever say that.
About to say.
Fact. Now, Minnie, I don't know. Have you been able to watch some of the episodes yet?
I've seen some. I'm definitely nowhere near far along as you guys, so I can only comment into the fact that I have seen every episode of the original Wonder Years, so I can contrast of like how I felt. I didn't think that I was going to be as enamored with the show as I was. I honestly thought from the beginning that I was just gonna be like, okay, let's see if I like it. Let's see if they can do it justice, because I like the original show so much.
Yeah.
And then watching it from by the way, I know this sounds crazy, but remember you were saying, Tyrone, about how if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of those in there, which I caught in the little bit that I watched. I did catch that there's some of like, this is kind of like, like,
yeah,
it's for you guys type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you got Fred Savage co-producing it, which is crazy to me, because it's like, how much do you know is Fred? That's what I'm trying to say. But so the thing is, like, I like the fact that they added that, and it still doesn't lose like what the Wonder Years was. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still like you were saying, like, it's still from the mindset of a child, but dictated through the voice of adult. So you kind of get the fact that he's past whatever it is, like whatever it is that he's talking about. He's been past it. He's just kind of telling you how it was for him back then. So it kind of gives you a sense of like it's gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? Because you know he passed it. But it's good, man. I got to the point, I don't know if spoilers to whoever is here, but I got to the point when they made the first connection to the original Wonder Years. And I thought that was dope. When they did that connection, when his brother came back home or what have you. I thought that was dope. I thought that was a cool way to unite both shows without having to like overlap it too much. It's kind of like corny, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I like the show.
Oh yeah, I knew you would. I I think one of the things that continues to stand out on this show is his relationship with his friends. Like he's got a ragtag bunch of friends. Kisa, the one in the middle, who happens to be his best friend and his love, his first true love.
This is Winnie, baby.
Yeah, that is his Winnie. You called it out. That is his Winnie. So when you see the relationship between him and his friends and the complexities of dealing with racism, because they talk about everything. They deal with racism, they deal with acceptance, they deal with bullying, they deal with like everything you could think of that a small child will deal with. Even now in today's society, they broach and they talk about. And I thought, and like the more and more I watch the show, the more I'm fascinated by the concepts and the way that they really delve deep into it. And like Tyrone said, you have Don Cheadle narrating in hindsight all of the things that he did as a child, and now as an adult, how he's reflecting back and realizing the lessons and the things that he went through, and just all of the fun things that you kind of remember through your childhood. And it takes you on that journey in such a way that it's so gripping. And it, like I told Tyrone, when I started watching it, I didn't stop until I finished it. This has 22 episodes.
Yeah.
I literally binge watched 22 episodes because, I went to sleep, obviously. I did, but when I woke up,
I kept on watching some more.
I didn't finish those last 3, so let me get those out of the way. But this is one of those type of episodes. Series that really kind of delve into that. And when you see this in 19, because I didn't grow up in the 1960s, so to
Right.
see how they like it goes it's as far it goes so far into the even like I think Tyrone mentioned this before, aesthetically, like the way that they're able to put everybody in the 1960s apparel, the cars, the
No, they
neighborhood,
did great.
the everything just looks like you're like, whoa, like this is it's I'm sure for anyone who grew up in the 1960s to see something like this and done the way that they did it, they're gonna be like, wow, wow. Now the relationship, like we talked about Fred and Winnie and their relationship and how they were best friends, and Fred was so in love with Winnie and everything like that. The same thing is apparent, uh maybe not at first, but the same things are apparent with Kisa and Dean. Dean goes through this whole process of wondering whether or not he should jeopardize his friendship, and Kisa goes through the whole, he watches Kisa date other boys, and the jealousy and the it's so pleasant to see. But I think another thing that really stands out in this series, and Tyrone, you can speak to this too, and so can you, Minnie, is the relationship between Bill and Lillian. Oh my God. This is such, like, if ever there was a spokesperson or a marketing ploy for Black love, this is it. Because I mean, Bill gives you, I know my role and I'm staying in my lane. He gives you that vibes throughout the whole series. Like if mama says something, don't look to daddy to change it, because daddy gonna look over here off into the sunset like, I don't know what you're talking about, anything. And to see the dynamic between them and the relationship and the love and just the caring and just the communication and everything. There's an episode, and I won't go too far into the episode, but I'll just say there's an episode where they address sex, and it's so funny, and it's just, it's like, you as a parent dread that conversation. I'm just gonna be honest. You dread that conversation, especially depending on the age of your child. You dread to have to explain sexuality and what's going on and everything like that. But the way Lillian explains it, it's funny. It's like, it's informative, and it lends little Dean some perspective. Now, does Dean know how to handle that type of information? No, he doesn't, because no kid knows how to handle that information. So it's really fun to see that. Now, Tyrone, I want you to speak to what you see in Bill and Lillian, as far as their relationship and their parenting style, because I think that's something we can speak about in today's society, is how they move as parents.
Yeah, it's they definitely do a really good job of portraying sort of like an old school parenting style. But whenever it gets old school to the point where we're like, we know that's not the way to do things anymore, like they address that. They address the idea that we have evolved since these days into different, into new things. But they still, anytime that they go, even into discipline stuff, or like approaching heavy topics with the kids, that kind of thing, it's always done in such a joyous way. I think the thing about this, about their relationship, about the way it's portrayed, is like they go through tough times in the show, and there are challenges and stuff, but it never feels like they're being traumatized, or like, just like, it doesn't look like these people are just suffering. You know what I mean? Like, here's some people that are, that for all intents and purposes, they're really loving life and loving each other, and they're communicating, and things are, he's the dad is a little bit emotionally shut off, as a lot of men were back in that day, and a lot of men still are in this day. You know what I mean? He's kind of closed off. He's kind of the tough guy, the disciplinarian. He doesn't really know how to express his feelings very well, so he does so in like little subtle sort of lessons and moments and things. And then of course Lillian, she's they give her the role of sort of like the boss of the family, without a doubt. Like, she is the final say, that kind of thing. But they're definitely a team, and she's so caring and tender, but also so powerful. But then what we also get to see is them in their personal lives. We get to see them being individual characters. So you see Bill going off to work, and he's a musician, he's doing his thing. We see Lillian at work a lot, and she's dealing with different kinds of prejudices in the workplace, and being overlooked because she's a black woman, being, those kinds of things. All of it still, without without turning them into just, essentially like cultural torture porn. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not people suffering and being belittled and being berated. It's people overcoming, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're the way that they're portrayed throughout this whole series is that they are thriving amidst all of the stuff that's going on in the 1960s within civil rights and everything. That this family sticks together. That the mom, she works at the state treasury office. I think she's like and she's and not just works there, but shit pretty much runs
Yeah,
the office.
she runs the show.
Runs the office. She doesn't have the title, but she runs the show. Like the
Yeah.
boss comes to her, like, what do you think? What should we do? Listen, you do it. I'll take credit. I think it'll be better.
Yeah, exactly.
But you do it. You know what I'm saying? But she navigates that in such an elegant and classy way. Like she doesn't complain. She doesn't sit there and say, "Woe is me" or whatever. She takes each issue, whatever it is, and she deals with it, and kind of doesn't even take it home, because like the thing about it is the way she moves within the house, you would never know she's having these issues at work until they take you to her job, because that's the type of woman she is. Now, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, you brought up something perfect, because there is, so, and the writing in the show is brilliant, because they have an episode where Dean sees his mom at work,
Yeah.
and gets to witness the stuff that she deals with. So because we see it through this perspective, it looks very different, and he has a new respect for, like those kinds of things. So it's
Absolutely.
even though even though she doesn't take it home necessarily, they do write the show so well where you can see how things parallel, the home life versus the work life and stuff like that. They're not beating you over the head with it, but you can see it very subtly. And then at times, of course, they do an episode like taking Dean to work, where you're like, oh shit, this is what it's like. It's brilliantly done by the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you like with that episode you're speaking about, like it did change Dean's whole perspective to the point where he's like, yo, mama's a superwoman. Like she's a superhero. Like you're a superhero. Like you take care of all of us, all of our needs, everything. Then you go to work, you do all of this, then you come home and you do it all over again. And at the end of that episode, Dean steps up for his mom, like, hold up, she ain't even got a chance to, And I thought that was so cool. Like in that moment that he realizes that mom is underappreciated. Like nobody like, and I got to delve into that a little bit. At work, nobody really wants to deal with his mom except for when they need her. Like so, like they show a whole scene where she brings cupcakes for everybody in the office, and nobody wants to eat her cupcakes, and then nobody wants to join them for lunch. Nobody wants to do anything. Like nobody even wants to really talk to her unless it's something that they need from her. You get what I'm saying? And Dean is standing by watching all of this. So when he sees this, he's like, you know what, Mom? I'll eat lunch with you. I just want to eat lunch. And it's the sweetest moment. And some people, it'll bring you to tears because it's just such a touching moment to see this son realizing all that his mom goes through and everything that she does. Now, that character, Lillian Williams, is played by she's so beautiful. Saykon, her name is, and I hope I'm not butchering this. Saykon Singbla, which the last name comes. She's she's of Liberian descent. But I just want to give you some of the other shows and stuff that she's been a part of that maybe you may have not known. She was part of the Scandal TV series. She's currently in the Respect movie, the Aretha Franklin story. I think that also stars Jennifer Hudson. and the Good Wife TV series, all good TV show series that that were really major. And I'm sure I've never watched Scandal or The Good Wife. I'm not gonna say her in front like I did, but I'm sure whatever role she plays on that, she's really good at it. So when I see uh this woman portray Lillian Williams in the way that she does, it makes me feel like this is probably who you are in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like this, you do it so effortlessly. Like this is like there's an episode, Minnie, and I don't know if you got to this, where Dean is being bullied. He's being bullied at school. His mom sees the bully and invites the bully over for dinner. Well, really, she technically was going to take the bully home, but realizes that the bully is home alone and doesn't have a mom and a father in the home, which touches her in a special kind of way, to where she's like, this boy needs some guidance and he needs somebody to love on him. So she starts bringing him over to the house. Now, remember, this is the bully that just beat up your son,
Right.
and takes his lunch money all the time, and now you're bringing him over to the house, and she starts spending all of this time with him. Dean gets jealous and winds up, doing some stuff. And I won't go into all of that just in case you want to watch the episode. But to see how she goes into full on motherly mode for this young man who bullied her child, and just totally changes for a moment, totally changes this boy's outlook on his future. Like the way she loved on him and the way that they show how the love can change an individual. Oh my gosh. Like it was just such a beautifully written episode. And this is like a constant theme in this show is that love conquers all, and that, like if you stand by and you're loyal and you stay determined, a lot of things can happen. You see this throughout the series. But it also speaks to her mate and her partner, which is Bill, played by Dule Hill, I think is how you pronounce his name. And Dule is, his resume goes on and on. Just to put that out there. This guy's been in This Is Us, West Wing, Psych, Suits, Ballers. He's won, countless awards for different roles and different stuff. Not this, which I'm still can't figure that out, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Tyrone, this is one of your favorite characters. Bill, you love Bill. You think he's like an awesome as the character and how he's portrayed as a dad. What is it that really stands out to you about Bill that makes you love him so much?
I think for me it is the reality of that character, the nuance of it too. So you could easily read a character like that as disinterested or walls up all the time, that kind of thing, and count him as sort of the even if he wasn't like emotionally nuanced, he still wouldn't be a bad guy. Like he's not a bad guy, but he's the tough guy. He's the disciplinarian. You get a sense that there's like some fear as well as some respect from the kids, that sort of thing. But it's just you see also even when he's dealing with his kids or when he's dealing with certain issues, you see his insecurities and you see what he has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and that he also that even though he sees himself as sort of the protector and the patriarch of the family and somebody who is there as like the rock, that he constantly looks to them for support and for love he needs. And that's when it really comes down to it. If without them, he would just be lost. You know what I mean? So you get all that. It's not anything that he says, but you get all that from his performance. I think the actor does such a great job in giving every little line so much that you're like, oh, okay, it's not just him blowing off this kid. It's him with the stress of this situation. And he's like trying to still set a good example. He doesn't want to break in front of his son because he knows if he shows any kind of emotional weakness in front of his son's not going to, so it's all these things. And it's just so well done. And the actor does such a good job without going overboard, because he every now and again, it'll just be like a grunt or a look. And you're just like, this dude just killed that.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, his face inflections are like he's killer with it. Like he can
Mhm.
literally give you the look. Like I said, when it comes to you know, mom saying something and then the kids looking at him to like kind of like overstep her authority. That dude will go strict. He'll go into blind and deaf mode real quick. He'll be like, look, like, and I think that's awesome, man. Minnie, what do I don't know how much you've been able to kind of soak up with the show, but um, there's also another dynamic in this show that stands out, and I kind of can relate, and that's the sibling rivalries that go on between young Dean and his older sister Kim, who eh, Kim is absolutely awesome. She's played her character is played by Laura uh Kariuki, I believe, and I hope I didn't slaughter that name as well. Very beautiful actress. Um, she has an extensive repertoire of shows that she's done as well. She's been in one of my shows that I used to watch, I shame on me for stop watching it because, but hey man, y'all should have did better. But like, look, but she used to be on Black Lightning.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, she played um Lightning. First it was done by another actress, and I think in the final season, I don't know if they just if she just decided, I don't know what the circumstances was why they recasted, but they recasted her on Black Lightning. But
Yeah.
yeah. Now their relationship is really cool because um Kim is in this point in her life in the 1960s where she wants to do a lot. She wants to fight for black rights and black civil rights. She wants to go to college. She wants to be a teenager. All of these things wrapped up in one, and she's dealing with relationships and stuff like that because she's coming into her own and everything like that. And then you have, your little brother Dean, who, if you've ever had a little brother or a little sister, you know how they can be. They typically want to get into everything, want to be in your business, want to be nosy, want to do all of those kind of things. And there's no different in this show. Um, have you been able to see any of the episodes where that dynamic is challenged with Kim and Dean, where they're kind of just going at each other's neck or whatever? Have you been able to see any of that yet?
I think in every episode that's present, but I can speak to the fact that if you might not know, I have 8 year old. I mean, I have a sister who's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
So I grew up with the same exact dynamic of hateration left to right. Um, and like he mentioned in the show that he's the third born and he gets the less attention and all kinds of stuff. Which I'm not the third born. I was the second born, but I was the baby, so I got a lot of attention. But I do understand and that when they get to that type of life, when they're in high school and you're not, and they're dealing with going to college and you're not, and stuff like that, you're just a baby. That all the attention goes to them. So that dynamic I did enjoy a lot when it comes to that sibling rivalry because I lived it. I know how it is, and they depicted it very well. It is, like I said, hateration all day, every day. But I will, but to take it back to the dad, my favorite part about the dad is the interaction between him and Dean, because we don't get to see that many black fathers and black sons on TV that much, and especially well acted and well written as it is. So I do appreciate that very much because they do a very good job at that.
And thank you for bringing that up because that is an issue that I've had in a lot of shows as well, where there isn't this black nuclear family where the mother and father are at home and they're not at odds. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Where
right.
there's actually just love and just consistency and just growth and all of that. You typically see a lot of Hollywood shows, showing the father in this isolated, whether he's a single father or they're divorced or there's tension and contention between the mother and the father. You see that too often, and you don't see enough of this. And to see it so elegantly done that you literally grow an appreciation for it, and just what the writers have been able to portray the characters as, and to show like there are instances within this show where there are, not in that their family, but there are moments, of course, where maybe in particular there was an episode where Lillian has this thing with her mom. Her mom, like, she always felt like her mom didn't appreciate her, and kind of thing, like treated her like she was wrong for leaving and everything like that. And to see how Bill supports her in these moments and like kind of brings her back down. He's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe, giving that lending that different perspective, and then kind of reeling her back in. He does a great job, like, and the same, and vice versa, because there's episodes where Bill does, like Tyrone said, Bill can do too much sometimes, and one of the things like that he does is he projects what a lot of Black fathers do, even to this day, which is project what you want it to be in life onto your child, and what your expectations become, because you feel like your failures should be there where they kind of come into their own, and succeed. And you kind of drive that, and to see how Lillian actually communicates to him and shows him how to step back and realize that you're doing too much, and it's in a way where it's not challenging his manhood. It's more or less just letting him reflect. And I love that. The way she did, way she was able to reel him in that episode. Now, as we continue to move on with discussing the show, there's one person that we haven't mentioned who is also a part of the Williams family. Go ahead.
Sorry, before you moved on from Kim, I just wanted to mention that the one thing that I really, really love about this character is that she is very vocal and very actively trying to like join the Black Panthers, and her view, like they through her show us that the Black Panthers aren't like a terrorist organization as they were being painted at the time. The family they're at odds about it a little bit, and they discuss it, but they discuss it in a real way that helps the conversation move forward. So I just like the portrayal of her as an activist, of her as even a revolutionary, but in a way that isn't what it was, in a way that isn't about how they were portraying the Black Panthers during that time.
Right. Oh, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because that is a fair point. Her radicalism sometimes is a little bit detrimental, because she tries to pull that shit with Lillian, and Lillian's like, oh, there's only one head honcho in here, sister, because she's always trying to pull rank, like no, like hold up. And so to see that dynamic is always pleasant. But yes, she is very quote unquote woke in that time period to the things that Black people go through and everything like that. And yes, her character is so. I mean, every character on this show literally is done so well. The casting for each person on this show is done so well. I don't see how this show has not been nominated for more awards, because it's too good. This is like, it's really too good. Like, I don't say this often about a show that it's well before its time, but this show is well before its time. And it's like the way that it's written, the way that it's acted, the way that it's portrayed. You mentioned Fred Savage being a co-producer. I think Fred Savage may be a co-producer, but he's a co-producer that sits in the back of the room and just doesn't say shit. He just got the title.
I'm telling you, I think he got it.
Yeah, he hired the right people, and he got the hell out of the way.
Yeah,
exactly. Just put my name on it, please. David.
Yeah. Like, give me credit because I was in the original, and they're like, "All right, Fred, no problem. We'll make you co-producer, but you got to sit in the back of the room."
I do want to say, you said that. Sorry, Vinny. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you talked about the show being before its time. I think a little bit yes, because of the way they talk about things and the way it's evolved. It is, I think, helping to move a lot of conversations forward, and it's
Mhm.
helping, to kind of give us a blueprint on how we should be communicating as a family and that kind of thing. But also, it fits right in like kind of the good old days when we talk about back in the days. We talk about sitcoms we used to watch and the sitcoms that we love so much and why we love them. It fits perfectly in that little bubble. Like if this show came on right after Family Matters, it would have been perfect. Like it would, like we would have been like, oh yeah, this makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, so in that way, it stands up with those kinds of shows that that really informed a generation. And I think because of the way TV has changed, it feels like it's being underappreciated, and I really, really, I hate that that's the case, because I think that this show is exactly what TV needs right now.
Oh, absolutely what TV needs. Now
Facts.
one of the other aspects of the show that they definitely tap into during this time, because during this time, the Vietnam War was going on. So this was at the height of what was it, voter, not voter, but where
The
they were
draft,
enlisting the
the
draft,
redraft.
the draft. Yeah, so it was during the draft, and there were some contentions from the Black Panther Party, and also a lot of different organizations against the war in Vietnam. A lot of people felt like they should be over there and everything like that. Well, what the story then delves into is the other member of the family who I didn't mention initially, which is Bruce. Bruce is the older brother, the oldest of the children in the Williams family, and Bruce throughout the series is gone to war. He's in Vietnam fighting the war. And you see there are a couple of episodes where he comes back
Mhm.
from the war, and like it's funny because Dean and his friends, they like, as typical kids do, talk about stuff they don't know about. So they're like literally having a conversation about what happens to the guys that come back from the war, and they're all crazy and psychos and become this, like, and everything like that. And so it puts Dean in this mindset before he even sees his brother, that his brother is going to be like this psycho and all of this kind of stuff. And that episode is so fun because what you realize is that Bruce going to the war was one of the best things that could have happened to him, because he actually was away from all of the in essence, he was in a certain way, he was away from all the racism and all of the stuff that was going on within America. What he said, as far as what was going on over there in Vietnam, was that we were all a family. We were all brothers over there. We were responsible for each other. I had a leadership position. I had people I was responsible for, and that was kind of the thing that he was spotlighting. And then when he comes back, it's like a full fledged smack in the face of reality. That is like, yo, you're no longer in the war. You're no longer wearing that uniform, and that's kind of allowing you to move through these spaces unscathed. And that episode was really thought provoking. Tyrone, when you saw that episode, what did you think?
Yeah, so that was an interesting perspective they gave on that. The way I read that was, it was similar, but like it was more of a, it's a shame this dude had to go into an active war zone across the globe to feel like he was treated with the respect that he deserves from his home. You know what I mean? And that when he came home to a country that is currently failing him, even though he was over there risking his life ostensibly for said country. That's the way I read it. Less of a look what the military gave him, and more of a look how his country has failed him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only reason I put it in that perspective is because that's the perspective I think he looked at it as. Because the first thing he did when he had an opportunity to was go back. And once he realized what he was facing coming back to the states, he realized that he couldn't operate in that. He was
Well,
like,
and even that though, he realized it because he was actively being discriminated against and put in a position where, like,
yeah,
yeah, he couldn't, like, he saw instead of looking at America, the land of opportunity, as here's where I can finally make my life and that kind of thing. He saw in his path was roadblocks. So he had to look to going back to active war, which we know is no picnic, and saying, okay, I think this is where I belong, which is crazy that somebody would be put in that mind frame. You know what I mean? Like, which I think is this could be sort of like a Rorschach test kind of thing, where we're like looking at the ink blot, seeing different things, because I do see a little bit of sort of correcting some past mistakes in this show. So I see less. I see less. I don't want to say I see less military type propaganda when I see episodes like this, and more of the human cost of war when I see stuff like this.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this show it's like I can't say it enough. The writing and the way the complexities of the storylines, it gives you that ability to have different perspectives on these things. Like the fact that they even took the time to delve into that.
Exactly.
And all of this was at the precipice of what was going on in the 1960s. Vietnam was extremely deadly. We know now in history it was extremely deadly for us Americans, and Black Americans, especially because that was really what it was. It was like if you stayed in America as a Black man, you were liable. And there are exceptions, obviously, because Bill, his focus throughout the series is to get his tenure. That's more important than anything else because he knows that it will benefit his family long term. But his love is music. He would love to be traveling and doing music and everything like that. But he understands that, for the future and his family, because that's the most important thing to him, securing his tenure at his job is more important than anything. And that dynamic is crazy. Like that, even just thinking like that, like you got to sacrifice your dreams and what you love to do in order to in this time frame, in this time period, this is what people had to do. And for Black men, like Bruce, who could have stayed home and went to college because he did have that opportunity. He wanted to try something different. He wanted to get away from home. He wanted to do, but then once he came back, and I think had his transition initially when he came back been different, then of course he's not going back to the military. I mean, no matter what he said about I miss my guys, and we were family, we were brothers over there. And just to see that whole episode where he goes to one of his fellow brothers who fell over while they were in Vietnam and went over there, and this was a white a soldier who he had developed an extremely close relationship with, and to see how his parents received Bruce, it was very touching because here you have Dean looking at it like, what are we doing at these white people's house? Like, well, he's in the car like, oh, I don't know what's going on. My brother's not coming back. They killed him. It's like that's how he was looking at it. But to see how they respected Bruce for coming through, saying how their son always used to write about him and talk about him and the brotherhood that they had over there. And then for him to come back and realize that I fought for my country. I went over here to serve, and you guys still look at me as just a Black man and less than, and you're giving me these opportunities that are beneath me and everything like that. Again, they're touching on all of the aspects of culture that we still deal with in today's society. We still have Black men who serve the country and come back and can get attacked. We saw 2 years ago the Black army I want to say I don't know
police and
and he got tased. He was being tased and all of that kind of stuff the whole time, telling them, hey, hold up, I'm serving this country and this is how you treat me. And they're like, yo, we don't care about that shit, man. Yeah, you better do what we told you. You know what I'm saying? To see that even being prevalent and being something that we're still dealing with here in 2023, and this was in the 1960s. Again, this is one of those things that was just it's just spotlighting everything, man, and it's doing it in such a beautiful way. Go ahead,
And
Tyrone.
just in a general sense, to that point, I feel like this show, its motto, like if it had a motto or like a tagline, it would be like, Black people are not a monolith. And even in the same family, you have people dealing with such different stuff, with different perspectives and different experiences, and it really shows just like how you know just how different every single individual is, and with a purpose. It shows you that just like when Bruce goes to the house of the soldier who died in the war, like his experience, like he faced terrible racism in that episode, and then he experienced this beautiful embrace with with these people whose son that he fought with and stuff. So it was, it's for everybody, in that here is just a different life experience and several different life experiences that even though, yes, it is a show with a Black family and it's a very Black show, it's not anti-white and it's not anti-America and it's none of those things. It's just very much, here's an experience that this group of people had, and here's how each one of those experiences shaped these people. It's just a very beautifully done.
And I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because it isn't anti-white at all. Like that's not the theme of the show, to sit there and like spotlight any imperfections that white people have. It's not about any of that. It's more about this Black family, and just dealing with society and dealing with all of the things that are around them, but dealing with it in a way where they don't sit there and cry about anything. They're just like, all right, this is what it is. This is how we're going to operate within it. We understand it. We're addressing it. We're not going to sit here and act like it doesn't exist. But we're going to deal with it, and we're going to deal with it together. And I think that's more important than anything, is the fact that they're doing it as a family. Now there's a couple of things that are happening that you may or may not have been aware of, Tyrone, and I'm so happy to shed light on this. Our young Kisa, whom I love her character as well. She has a lot of charisma, a lot of attitude. She can be a handful for sure. She has just been, well, it's been announced. I don't know if it's just been announced, but it has been announced that she will be playing in the upcoming Blade movie. She will be in the upcoming Blade movie. So shout out to Kisa, man. I mean, whose name is really Milan in real life. I don't know what the last name is. It's just Milan at this point. But Milan is going to be in the Blade movie. So congratulations to you.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I hope she plays his daughter. I hope so.
Possibly, and I hope so too, because I'm telling you, Kisa can put that attitude on real quick. Like, boom, I don't think we should be friends because you don't want you didn't want to be friends. Yo, she's definitely got a lot of personality. And also, season 2 has been moved to the summer 2023, and they will have a new guest on the show. I'm happy to announce that Patti LaBelle will be joining the cast of Wonder Years 2023 as his mother, Bill's mother. Because we've never seen Bill's mother. We've always seen Bill's dad. And by the way, Bill's dad is the epitome of an elderly Black man in the 1960s. He is not afraid to address all the things that Black people dealt with. He doesn't. It's fair to say that he doesn't trust white people at all.
He spent his entire life pre-civil rights movement.
Yeah, it's fair to say he does not trust them at all. He goes through this. There's a couple of episodes where he goes through, not trusting. And this is all also, and again, they touch on something again, the Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah,
he was like, yo, like they did it so just in a way to where they didn't really like delve deep. But they gave you enough. They just gave you enough. He was like, I remember when they were them boys at Tuskegee, they said that was just a vaccine. And I was like, oh,
Yep.
So it's those things, man. You have all of these different dynamics. You have all of these different personalities. You have they give you the barbershop themes that you know what I'm saying, which is which stands out in the black community is one of our favorite places to go to talk to gossip. That's it. For men, this is where we go to gossip. Like this, and that's exactly what they show in this series when they go to the barbershop. The barbershop is where we pull up to gossip about everybody in town, talk about sports, talk about our political views, talk about whatever it is, and they do it so effortlessly. And Bill's dad is hilarious. He's absolutely hilarious with the old school remedies and they get sick and at one point get chicken pox, and he says to put goose grease all over your body. Now, this only people who are from the South, deep South,
That
would
goose
know
grease.
anything about some goose grease. This was the first time I ever heard about some goose grease. So I
That's
had to
goose
ask
grease.
around. I was like, "Oh, grandma, what's it used?" She was like, "Oh, goose grease. Yeah, they used to use that." I'm like, "So you know about this stuff too?" Like, "Oh, yeah, like that stuff stinks."
No, I love the grandpa. I love him. I
Yes.
think the epitome of that character is when he tells the dean that I gotta pee every 15 minutes and you can't that's something you can't take away from me.
Yes.
That's an old black man right there. You
Oh
can't take
man,
that away from
stuck
me.
in his ways. An old black man who is dead stuck in his ways, and there's just nothing you can do about it but just deal with it. And that relationship, you even get to see that relationship between Bill and his father, and why
Yeah.
Bill reacts sometimes the way that he does, because
Right.
this was something that he is inherent, because
Mhm.
his dad, this is what his dad taught him, and how he's, you know what I'm saying, he finds that he has to change up these generational curses and things that he learned, he has to unlearn to teach his child. And I think again, the dynamic of black family, and seeing this and portrayed in such a positive outlook, in such a positive way, because again, Minnie, you brought up the fact that you don't see this a lot on television. And if you do, like we don't have it much anymore. We had Blackish for a while, and then they stopped, and then you went to Grownish, and then it got crazy, it got real grown on you.
Yeah, real grown.
It got real grown on you. But
Mm.
this I will continue to celebrate this show. I will continue to champion this show, and I will definitely continue to suggest this show to any and everyone who wants to see some well written storylines and just great television all around. There has been some hate and some blowback from some people in regards to this show, who just say that it was blackwashed and it was unnecessary to be blackwashed, and all of this kind of stuff, and
Oh,
Wonder
you mean
Years.
racist?
Well, call them out.
I
Damn
know
it.
these people.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Smell like
but
it.
to whomever believes that, then sir, you are just misled, misinformed, and just this show is everything that you could absolutely want, in a TV series. And again, thank you, Tyrone, for putting me on to this show, because I'm telling you, it is one of my favorites, and will I think moving forward will be one of my favorites, until they stop, and then I'll just continue to watch the episodes over and over
Yeah.
and over again. But I can't wait for the new season to drop in the summer 2023, and to see Patty, because Patty is everybody. Listen, Patty is like,
That's
she's the
Auntie Larry.
matriarch of the black of black culture. Like Patty is that auntie that you can't wait to go to her house, because you know she's gonna cook you all the food that you love, and she's gonna cook it with love, and she's gonna call you baby 150 times, my babies, and all of that. Yes, this is
Yeah.
Patty. And you might get a little song in the middle of her cooking. So this is all that I'm hoping that we get in this, and when we get Patty, is just what we've been getting from Lillian, just what we've been getting from Bill. It's just a celebration of black culture, and just a celebration of black family. So that would wrap up this week's review of that show. We're gonna go ahead and briefly go through our must watch TVs. And at the top of the list of must watch TV, oh, who would have thought it? Wonder Years. It's gonna be at the top. It's gonna be at the top of my must watch TV. So go check it out if you have not had a chance. It is currently streaming on Hulu or the ABC app if you have the ABC app, but it is right now on Hulu or on your Fire Stick if you have one. If you don't, hit me up. I can get you right. But Wonder Years is at the top of my list. Also, I talked about this last week. Your Honor on Showtime is a really good series. It stars our boy Mouse. And I'm going to suggest it not just because it stars Mouse, but because it's a really good show. Bryan Cranston is a very good actor, and he's also an ally to our culture. I've heard him speaking most recently, and I was like, okay, Brian.
Oh yeah, he got mad.
I was like, all right, Brian.
I like it.
Yeah, I love it. I was like, hey, all right, you invited to the cookout. All right, and if you haven't seen it by now, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is still out in the movie theaters. We've given our ratings on it. I've seen it twice now, or it's seen me twice. Many recorded me sleep in the movie theater. Thank you, Minnie, for that. I'll never forget it.
The sounds of Ty.
The sounds of Ty. Yes, thank you. My story in the midst of the movie, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It just means I was sleepy. So go check out Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Also, I can't say this enough. The Last of Us is absolutely amazing. This last episode did not disappoint. If you have not seen this last episode, I hated Ellie from the beginning. Tyrone will tell you I've been Ellie hater. I felt like every episode should be her death. But I'm starting to not hate Ellie so much. She's starting to grow on me a little bit. She's still the loudest person in an apocalyptic thing, and that's never going to stop. She's still going to possibly get everybody killed. But I'm starting to understand why Ellie moves how she moves and why she is how she is. And I appreciate the directors and the writers for taking the time to invest in giving us her backstory and everything like that. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go watch this show, it is streaming on HBO Max. Go check it out. I think we're on the 7th or 6th episode.
That's a good question, bro. I think.
Okay, we're somewhere around that.
No, that was 7, right?
Number 7. Yes. Okay, so we're on episode 7. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch. You still got time. It won't feel like you're taking your whole day to watch it. But go check it out. Outside of that, guys, that's all I got for Must Watch TV this week. Anything on the way out? You guys got it? And next week, before I let you guys do that, next week, we got a huge show, guys. A huge show. A show you do not want to miss. We have the pleasure of having one of the top UFC bantamweights coming to join us right before his pay-per-view match in April. He's got a whole pay-per-view match that he's training for right now in April. Huge match. And that guy is none other than Mr. Rob Font. We got him. We got him. Minnie, we got him. He's coming.
Yes, sir.
Rob will be joining us next week, and I'm so excited for this conversation. I hope you guys are too. It's such a pleasure to be able to have someone of his caliber come in to join us. And listen, Rob is a laid back dude. Like if ever if you ever wondered what these guys are like and everything, if he's any indication of how UFC fighters are, then hey, sign me up. I'm going to more UFC matches because Rob is a hella cool.
Yeah, cool dude, man.
Yeah, super cool. And I'm super excited, and I hope you guys are excited as well to have him.
Didn't you say you were going to challenge him to a fight?
I would get in the ring with him. I'm not
scared.
I would absolutely get in the ring with him. Just to,
serious.
I would just to test my skills. Like I'm not scared to get hit, and I'm not scared to hit. And I would get in there just to see, because I feel like I'm pretty nice with these hands too.
Test
everybody do until they get in the ring.
Yeah. No.
Everybody do.
Like that's not
in the octagon. You mean octagon?
Where he would get me? I'm gonna tell you where he would get me.
It's with
the
the kicks.
takedowns and shit. I ain't with all of that wrestling shit. I cannot do.
well,
As soon as he grapples me, I'm like, all right.
We gonna have this conversation.
All right,
we
man.
gonna have this conversation.
I'm tapping.
Yes,
I feel like
chicken wings and all of that. No, I'm
the chicken wing.
I already know where he would get me. He would get me as soon as the bell rings.
Like I respect his hands. I see he's got one of the best jabs in the. Matter of fact, let's take a look at his jab. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't want to get beat up like that. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what you doing. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. I don't know.
It was all funny, Joe. It's just jokes, Rob. It's just jokes. Nah. But I'm excited to have him on the show, man. And I know it's going to be a great show. And you don't want to miss it. So tune in next week, March 8th. We will be having Rob Font, UFC bantamweight, top bantamweight. I think right now he's the 6th ranked bantamweight in the division. And this is a very good division he's in, by the way. There are some really good fighters in that division, and to be, at one of within the top 10, that says a lot for Rob. And I've been watching Rob for a while, even before we even knew that we were going to get him on the show and everything like that. And I've always been a fan of him. His boxing, his hands are really nice. The boy knows how to throw that jab, knows how to, you know what I'm saying, and everything like that. So I'm really anxious to see what he does in this next pay-per-view match, because he is in a tough one. Israel, I think it's Israel. I had his name, but he's right now he's I think 16-3, and I think he's 5-0 since he joined the UFC. I think he hasn't lost. So this is it's going to be a tough. And I'm sure Rob is going to speak to that. This is going to be a challenge for Rob, but I don't think I think he can do it. I think he can do it. I'm putting my money on him. So definitely, if you're into sports, if you're in the UFC, if you're not in the UFC and you're just into Rob Font, tune in. Tune in. He will be here live on the Multiverse March 8th. All right. Anything on the way out, guys?
Thank you for watching.
Tyrone, you got a show. You got a show on Thursday.
I got a show tomorrow night. Yeah, if you're in the Queens, New York area, I got a show.
Queens, son.
Comedy at the Q. Yeah, so I'll be out there hanging out. And then, of course, Saturday morning, New Blurred Order.
Son.
Absolutely. I'll take my cut for management fees. Tyrone ain't even out here for the He's like, no, see you later. I only have a show tomorrow.
That's crazy.
What about you, Minnie? What you got coming up?
97.5 tonight. I'll be interviewing Fleshbone, 97.5 Fleshbone from Bones and Thugs in Harmony. Tomorrow I'll be doing, if you're in Kissimmee area in Florida, I'll be doing the Mixtape 4 with Kels. It's going to be great. And he didn't mention this, but by the way, The Mandalorian is back, baby. The Mandos are back.
I know.
Watch Mandalorian. We're back.
We're back, my God. Baby. How could y'all let me go the whole show? And oh man, I didn't even brand it. Yes. Thank you, Minnie, for being here and being on point. Yes, The Mandalorian is back today, guys. Go check it out. I still am, and me and Tyrone will argue ourselves down to the ground which show is the best. Is it Andor or is it Mandalorian?
The best Star Wars show.
I still feel like Mandalorian is still the best, but we will find out. I think we're gonna make Tyrone eat his words.
Have you seen the premiere of season 3 yet?
I like it.
Did you like it? After you watch the episode.
Did you not like it? Oh, he didn't like it. He didn't like it.
Yeah, we'll have to talk after you watch the episode.
He didn't like it.
I'll reserve. I'm not gonna say anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, if you want to know what Tyrone thinks about the new Mandalorian, tune in to the New Blurred Order this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. where you can see my face and Tyrone's as we battle it out over which is the best Star Wars show in typical good time, bad time fashion. And definitely go go check out. Well, you won't be able to check out unless you're in New York. Go check out Tyrone's show. Minnie, you said Flesh and Bone. Didn't you just interview Lazy Bone the other week?
Yeah, I'm trying to get all the Bone Thugs in harmony because I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be named Mini Bone from now on.
Oh, Mini Bone. Oh,
I'm trying to
AKA.
get,
Another AKA. Man, listen,
I'm trying to get my AKAs up.
we can't get enough of the AKAs. We got Mini Bone, Mini Morales, Mini Grogu. You name it, whatever's hot, Minnie's going to attach his name to it. Just know that. So,
like Drake, baby. I'm like Drake.
hey, I know it, man. So congratulations to you, man. Doing big things, man. So I know it's going to be a great interview. And you said where can they tune in to see that interview?
Rollins Radio, 97.5 Rollins Radio.
97.5 Rollins Radio. So tune into that. I'm sure Minnie's going to give a great interview. And you know, if they want to come over to the multiverse, hey, tell them we got opens, we got spots, we got some spots. All right. Well, with that being said, I just want to give a special shout out to the Financial Griot. We will be having them on the show soon. Also, I guess I can announce it this week. We are still in the process of solidifying everything, but the Multiverse podcast is fortunate enough to now be a part of Tivit TV, which is an app that is on Roku TV, which is a platform where we will be now broadcasted on televised. So we will have some episodes up on Tivit TV soon. As soon as we have those episodes up, I will put links in the description. I will make sure that everybody has access to it. And yeah, come over there and support us and support Tivit TV because we want it to blow up. And it's ran by a beautiful couple, and you know they're a beautiful black couple. And
we need to have them on.
Yeah, yes, everything. You know, they listen. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna have them on as guests to talk about it as well. So that is something that I'm very happy to be able to announce, and also very happy to be a part of. All right. Now, with that being said, shout outs to the New Blurred Order, 10 a.m. Saturday morning. Financial Griot, shout outs to them. Shout out to Tivit TV. Somebody F Ellie. I said everybody hates Ellie. Cool. I'm with it. I love it. Oh, thank you. Adrian Yanez is the next.
Oh yeah, Adrian Yanez.
I knew it was Adrian, not Yanez is the next fight for Rob. So definitely you want to tune into that. That is that's going to be pay-per-view April 8th. UFC 287. It's going down. All right. So with that being said, I don't think I have anything else. On behalf of myself, Tyrone Thornhill, Minnie Morales, and Holly Noon, we are the Multiverse Podcast. Until next week with UFC fighter Rob Font, we are the Multiverse Podcast. We are out.